Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckelring, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own, you need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the topic, and you might be watching us live, GoalChat Live, or the replay, or listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here. And today we are talking about giving. So every year I do a special Giving Monday for Giving Tuesday. And last year it occurred to me, because this podcast comes out on Thursday, is people were getting the Giving Tuesday episode like 2 days later. So we're mixing things up. And especially since Thanksgiving is so late this year, it's going to be Debsumber before you know it. This is the time of year the holidays are approaching, and it's a time not just to like kumbaya, be together, but also do things to make the world a better place. And I have gathered 3 awesome people who are all about making the world a better place. We have Noah Bleich, we have Chiu, we have Nicky Pitman, and they all are like food adjacent. They've all been interviewed on Taste Buds with Deb. David's interview is coming up in a little over a week. So it's the spirit of giving, but I also love the fact that giving and food go hand in hand. I have preambled way more than I anticipated. So at this point, I would love for my guests to share who they are and why the topic of giving is something that they're so excited about chiming in on. Noah, let's start with you.
So my name is Noah Bleich. I'm the founder of the TeaBook. We make art, tea, and puns. And our whole mission is basically just to do good and make people happy. All of our stuff is designed that way. And part of it I get from my mom, who inspired me when we were little. She, people goes trick-or-treating. And there's a lot of people, especially women in shelters and places that can't go trick-or-treating with their kids. So she would put out a basket, and on the basket would say, do you want to leave some of your candy for other people who can't go trick-or-treating? And so she always taught us. Yeah, she was an amazing woman, and I'm sure she'll come up again. But she was the inspiration of why giving is so important to me.
And she also had a bit of a hand in launching the TeaBook, if memory serves, right?
Yeah, she was the inspiration. A lot of times when you want to do something, you got ideas, but you need that inspiration and that impetus to be like, I'm going to do it. And if you don't have that, sometimes you give up on yourself.
Well, it's very important to have in the mom voice, which I also have in my head through all that I do, is that how we keep their spirit moving forward as well. We get to be their legacy with the spirit of giving behind it. I mean, what's better, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad you're here, and I'm excited. I know a little more about your story, so I'm excited to have you share more of that. David, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me into this space. My name is David Chiu. I am the communications manager for the Braid, which is a Jewish story company. We began by telling the stories of Jewish women who were underrepresented in the media, and we did it as a pop-up in people's living rooms and homes, all the way to expanding to telling the diverse, complex, rich, and nuanced portrait of today's Jewish people and our wider community. Everything from an Asian Jewish theater show that I helped produce to stories of queer Jews, stories of Soviet Jews, stories from the Ukrainian war, the front lines, stories of Muslims and Jews coming together and finding shared humanity. In addition, as Deb mentioned, we have a connection to food. Now that we've returned to in-person events, we always have some yummy treats before any of our theater shows begin. And we also look for additional food-related connections, such as a intergenerational Jews of color cooking series that I'm producing that you'll hear a little bit more about on the upcoming podcast. I think it's very Jewish in our values to want to help people and feed people. It's very Chinese also. That's my other ethnicity. to one. And so I try to live on my values by just making sure that there's this ethos of like nobody leaves the table hungry. And I think that's both an interpersonal value, but a wider community society value that I have as well. I was just explaining to someone who isn't Jewish that there's a tradition at Passover to throw open the door and shout out to the world, let all who are hungry come and eat. And I think that really exemplifies for me the best of the values that I take from my culture.
Amazing. And I love that there's a little bit of a thematic thing with what Noah just said about leaving out the candy for those who need that bit of a treat, that who cannot, give for others. Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. Excited to chat more. And Nicky Pitman, great to see you / have you here. Please share who you are. In addition to, awesome.
Thanks. It's good to be with you again, Deb, and good to hear your stories, you guys. My name is Nicky Pitman. I am the director of Shemesh Farms, which is a initiative and a small herb farm that's part of the Shalom Institute. We are here solely because we provide community programming and employment to adults with diverse abilities. And I always joke that we could be doing anything. We could be making drapes, but we make herb blends and we jar our own honey and we work with the earth, which is so wonderful for any of us. But for our particular population, it just seems to go and grow hand in hand. As we each get to be our own person, how we are, who we are, we come as we are, so do the plants. And so we take our cue from them. And for me, what's really significant is Shalom Institute umbrellas several different programs, one of which is Camp JCA Shalom, which is where I went as a camper and where I worked as a counselor. And so when I took this job 2.5 years ago, it was like coming home. And my greatest Jewish values were learned at camp. So I think that's pretty amazing, is that's what we do here at Shemesh Farms, is we practice Tikkun Olam, Shomrei Adamah, and Kihila. So community, keepers of the earth, and just making the world a better place.
And again, another food connection. But one of the other things that, and we've spoken before several times, but I love that you're a community, but also the plants are community because they help each other grow, right?
Exactly. So we talk a lot about companion planting. We utilize that a lot in our garden. So we'll plant specific plants to help other plants grow. For instance, using marigolds to plant next to another herb will foster growth for that herb because it will keep bugs away, it'll keep critters away, and because it'll bring in pollinators, the plants next to it will pollinate as well. So just as that happens in the garden, it happens here with our volunteers, with our coaches that come to work with us, and we all help each other to grow and be our best selves.
I feel like there's nothing says more about we're all in this together than community, gardening, food. We're all trying in our own little ways, trying to make the world a little bit better. Some people do it in big ways, other people do it in little ways. And Noah started talking about this before, but I'm going to re-ask the question: what was it? Do you remember your earliest giving memories, Nicky?
Well, one of them was giving up to give. So when the farm workers would go on strike, there was adamant that we didn't eat grapes, which I loved as a kid. And so every time we went to the store and I'd choose grapes, she's like, put those back. We need to support the farm workers. So it's funny. I just heard Julia Louis-Dreyfus talking to Dolores Huerta on her podcast, and she had the same story, and I was like, I thought I was the only one who had that story. But I think that was my first. I don't even think I completely understood it. I just knew that wasn't okay, that we needed to take care of other people.
Awesome. I certainly was not expecting that as an answer. And it really just shows that the family values the things that you learn, they make an impact.
I remember.
Dave?
I don't remember. Oh, sorry.
Oh, please go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't remember it, but I remember my parents told me a story that when I was really little, I used to scare the kids because I'd want to share my toys with them. Like most kids, like it's mine, right? You're fighting over, and I was like, let's play together, let's share, and that was for for a kid. They're like, why are you doing that? And I remember that story, them telling me that, but I don't actually remember it happening. But I do like to share my toys.
Noah, and this goes into what Nicky just said. This reminds me, the Braid just had a mental health retreat for young professionals, and we had this expert named Dr. Barry Goldstein, and he talked about how we grew up playing competitive games where we're trying to beat one other person, pitting people against each other. And he said that there's actually a whole other branch of game playing called cooperative games. And I'm fascinated by listening to what you're talking about, and also listening to how Nicky talks about how plants help each other grow, and thinking about what this therapist had taught all these young professionals, that if we are shaped from an early age to see the world as a rat race where we're all pitted against each other, it shapes how we view each other. It leads to us feeling more lonely. It leads to us feeling more suspicious and paranoid and about the world we live in and the people we interact with. And that if his whole idea was this notion of better play, and he has a whole book coming out on this, that maybe if we can reimagine how we play, and you did that as a kid, it actually shapes how
I still do it now. In fact, I host a game night every other Wednesday.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we have a series. There are some games that are cooperative and some games that are competitive. Even in competition, we're still friendly because it's a game.
Right.
That's the word game means. Like, it doesn't matter. Otherwise, it's not a game.
Oh, I love that. Like, me too.
You're welcome to come
We're coming
every
over
other
on
Wednesday
night.
I was going to say game night at Noah's, because this is one of those rare occasions where everybody on this conversation is in LA.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there
and
you
I
go.
think too, David, with the work you do, and I have seen a production that you guys did at eCar that was really wonderful. And and I was in the theater world for a very long time, and improv games, right? Like any theater game is a collaborative game, is a ensemble game, we're all in this together, and how do we help each other? How do we support each other? And to me, that's what the same thing we bring here. I think it sounds like we all do to our work and our world.
It's really
So,
true. I used to work.
huzzah, you guys.
Yeah, I used to work more in the Hollywood industry, and one of the nice things about the nonprofit culture creation aspect is there's just more of a sense of everybody you're trying to uplift other people's voices, trying to help other people. There's less of a sense that your success is my failure,
Mhm.
and that's just what a much nicer pool to swim in. You know what I mean?
Yes. So my degree is actually in biology and environmental science. And one of the things, like, there's a lot of mistaken things that people, especially in the early 70s, interpreted about the animal world. And it is, the dog eat dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not nature. Most of nature is not dog eat dog. Dogs generally don't eat each other. So they prefer treats with sausages and bacon, but that's a separate non-kosher thing. And so
Thank you for clarifying that. That was really important.
And so in nature, it's actually way more cooperative. Even the term of alpha male, an alpha leader, was just debunked by the own person who created it. But by the time he debunked it, like within a year, it had already become a media thing. So everyone still uses it, but it's not real. There's really not an alpha. They cooperate together and they establish societies and structures rather than being competitive.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And you heard me say at the top of the show, something I truly believe in is you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your advocates, you need your champions, your resources. Whenever you let a person into your circle, you get to be part of theirs and vice versa. And I love that this conversation on giving and is turning into a conversation on collaboration, because when we rise one, we rise us all, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. David, did you share your early volunteer or giving memory?
One of my earliest memories, and this is such a basic memory, I feel like, but it's collecting cans and other things off the shelf for one of those food drives, and you put it in, you like they would send you home with a little paper bag, like a shopping bag, and it would be stapled like all the things you're supposed to find in your pantry, and I would diligently try to like find it and stuff it. And then of course the paper, if you stuff a bunch of cans in a paper shopping bag, the shopping bag is going to rip. So that I would try to like get another plastic bag or something that would like hold it, maybe another shopping bag. And it's interesting because I would always bring this bag of cans to wherever the drive was, and I never knew whatever happened to it. I like to imagine there was somebody like opening up this like can of corn from my pantry, my parents' pantry, and I don't know, doing something lovely with it or enjoying it. I never really knew. And then many, many years later, I volunteered at Sova, which is a Jewish food pantry. And it was interesting to be the person giving out the food, giving out the cans, and to have face-to-face interactions with the people. Now I got to see all of those years later what it was like to receive those cans. And you might think like, well, what's somebody gonna, how much difference is it gonna make to give somebody some pasta, some cans of beans, other things. But when you talk to people who were trying to really like on the margins of making it ends meet, and $30, can make a massive difference in terms of them being able to balance their checkbook in the red or the black for that week or that month. Like, you realize the impact of this. I remember there was somebody who was also, again, he was in the movie industry. So that's where I was at the time. So really cut close to home, and there was a slowdown. And he was, even though he had a good job, now he was really worried about what he was going to be able to put on the Thanksgiving table. And so to be able to just give him a bag of stuff and say, like, you've got your Thanksgiving taken care of. And to realize how hard it was for a man who had taken pride in really having a good job and having a solid place, to suddenly have to ask for help, and to have somebody give it to him without judgment and just like love and support, and be like, man, well, that could be any of us at any moment. Like, I totally feel you, and there's no judgment. Like, you realize that it was more than just like what I learned in that moment. It was really more than just like the cans in the bag. It was the people that they were being sent to.
Such a lovely full circle example. Really, really beautiful. And I'm sure you all are going to nod. There are different ways to give. It's give of money is the obvious one. So we're really not going to talk about that. But what are the other ways that you can give of yourself in your community to just make things better? And even, as David said, a little bit can make a big difference. You don't know. Noah or David?
One thing I was just thinking of, and I think about this in addition to the Braid, I work for another nonprofit of Asian American Jews, and I'm on the board of a synagogue, and on the board of another environmental nonprofit. And one thing I think that is underappreciated that nonprofits always need is expertise, volunteer time expertise. Mm-hmm. So there are people who've donated unimaginable hours in terms of like what this would cost in terms of legal advice, contract writing, in terms of marketing, in terms of graphic design. Chances are you have a skill that, or could be any skill, contractors. So when the Braid recently purchased a new space, and people everywhere from lighting designers to to architects, to contractors, came in to give some of their time to help us make informed decisions. We paid the actual pipe fitters and the actual people doing the work, but to be able to lend that expertise that would normally cost unimaginable amounts for a nonprofit in terms of consulting costs, to be able to volunteer something that you're really good at, that you normally charge good money for, and to take a little bit of that aside and to give it to a place that you believe in. Nonprofits are always looking for that kind of help, and that's a way you can make an incredible difference.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the book, the love language book, which I don't know why we had to have a book about it, but they did. So I think it's the same thing for gifts, right? Some people like an item. Some people want to spend quality time. Some people want services. So I think it's the same for gift. I think love and gifting is very connected. I think I took this class of managing in nonprofits with Peter Drucker, father of modern management. And he said, why do people work 60, 80 hours a week, but still volunteer at their church, their school, their synagogue? What's the reason? Why would you do that? And he said, when you're doing a lot of your work, you don't see what you do. I filled out a form, I shipped it off, I'm constantly doing paperwork for business. But when you help someone, you see what you did. There's an immediate connection. And as humans, we want connections. And I think gifting is that connection. Whatever you desire in that connection is going to be up to the individual or the group.
I love what both of you shared so much. And I love that, like the love language, because that's what giving is. It is a love language, period, dot, exclamation point. And then the question mark of how. And it's like, what is needed and what can you do? So I think all the things of expertise and time, and just listening, like somebody who's just going to listen and hear, and really hear what is it that's needed. We're constantly, every Monday I send out an email. Deb, I think you might be on it, but
Yes.
we're always asking for citrus. We don't grow our own citrus right now because we're not in our own space anymore. We're itinerant basically, but we're always asking for lemons and oranges and limes because we use so much citrus zest in our blends. And so that's a way to give. Where we are currently is we're at the Malibu United Methodist Church, and they have a feeding ministry. So we grow for the ministry to give, but we also ask people to bring in brown paper bags so that they can pack the meals when they need to pack the meals, or clothing, or small toiletry items, that we can pack up. We ask, we ask for money, we ask for all the things, but we ask people to be a part of Shemesh Farms. Come be with us. Come out here for a day, spend a day. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel good. And when you feel good, you make the world a better place. Period. Dot. Exclamation point.
Nikki, I feel like what you're saying really resonates with me, because one thing I realize is when you take a moment to figure out what a nonprofit or an organization or a charity partner really needs, you're forming a genuine connection. And again, going back to the loneliness and the isolation that we can feel, and this goes with to Noah, is so much of our world can be sending electronic messages without really the same level of human interaction that our ancestors had. So getting the time to really see what does somebody need means entering into a deeper relationship with them. And that feeling is much more, rewarding, like you're saying, Noah, than just kind of pushing things around, the internet at a distance.
I think that there's so much value, though, in both sides of that coin, because if you're involved with an organization, it's really important to articulate what is needed. And and from the side of the givers, if money is your thing, awesome. But to go and ask the questions or just show up. Oh, they're having a volunteer day. I know. And yes, I do get all of the emails, Nikki. We need volunteers. We need people to work the farm stand or to bring things in. So articulating, but also being open and just going. Don't even ask. Just, okay, they want me to show up. I'm there.
Absolutely. And I think, what you do, Deb, with your conversations is you bring people together. You're a gatherer. And every time I've been on one of your programs, I feel like it is a huge gift, because listening to you guys just today is inspiring to me. Just your personal stories, what you're doing, what your thoughts are. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And it turns, and then that's the connection too, David, that you talked about, is listening to you guys do good things and what we could all do together, or brainstorm off each other, or just that's a huge gift, Deb. So thank you.
Oh, well, this is what I love. So thank you for saying that. And unless it's on purpose, my guests don't know each other. And I believe before the show, Noah and Nicky, they knew of each other and they've been at farmers market together, but this is their first conversation. And we do better when we bond. We do better when we uplift and see what other people are working on, to see what we can do, or spread the message about good that we see in the world. So how can people be more collaborative? How do you take that initiative?
So I have a adopted Persian family, because it's a lot cheaper and more legal to adopt an adult than kids. And so they always invite me over, and they always give a Devar Torah, which for those who don't know is basically like a sermon, but a very short one. And their favorite one was that the word in Hebrew to give is natan, or natan, and which is nun, which is spelled backwards or forward the same. And that when you give, it comes back to you. And so that ties into another concept that I talked about, was in Viktor Frankl's book about the man's search for meaning. He said, when you give something, it gives you purpose. And the person who receives it, it makes them happy. And that balance between happiness and purpose is the meaning of life. Mm-hmm. And so I try to live that by that, when we give out our teas and our products. And so I think you can, as long as you remember that when you're giving, you're also getting, and that it's a partnership. It's one word, it's one community, one group, one people. And I think that is how you get connected. And that is how you keep doing
it. Definitely, it's something my mom would always say is, yes, giving and receiving are the same thing, because it benefits the energy, and it's all about the greater gift. It's a gift to let someone give things to you, as well as to receive it. So I love that. Thank you.
It's interesting too when you say that, Noah and David. I think you could probably connect to this too, is that, when I taught drama and I directed shows for a long time with kids and high school students, and they get like kind of sheepish when it came to curtain call, right? They would be like, oh, I don't want to really take this bow. I'm like, you're not taking a bow just for you. You're coming out because the audience wants to thank you. And with your bow, you are thanking the audience, because we're in this together. This theater doesn't happen in a vacuum. You're not the star, the actor. It's this experience that we're all having together. So it's an acknowledgement. And I think that's the Natan piece, which I love, Noah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I love these ideas. And then, one of the things about theater that makes it, there's a special quality to it, because especially a smaller theater, is that people are coming up to the actors afterward. People are seeing their friends who come to sometimes show after show. And there's a great adage. I remember one of the first jobs I had when I came out to Los Angeles out of film school. Somebody said, David, everyone just wants to work with their friends. And I've always remembered this line, because I think whether it's volunteering or your job, or the thing you really want to do is just to have an opportunity, and sometimes the excuse, to spend time with people you love doing something that you feel rewarding. And so one of the things that, I really started to really feel it when we would do volunteer activities on Zoom during the pandemic, and half of these things never needed to really be on Zoom, just like half of them never really needed to be in person, except for it was a lot, you could pack a box, or you could do some things, or like consult, or whatever you were doing, from your home, and you didn't necessarily always need to do it in part, physical proximity to other people or in digital proximity to other people. But people liked doing it because part of it was getting to see the friends that they always get to see when they're volunteering, when they're giving, the relationships they have with the organization they're partnering with the staff, with the other people in the leadership, with the other volunteers. And it's really brought home how much giving is also just, it is an activity that we do with people that are friends of ours, we feel connected to, that the causes we give to help align us with people who are like-minded and share our values. And so I kind of always come back to this idea of everybody just wants to work with their friends, but really I think that's really the nature of humanity. We just love, we're a social species, and we like to connect with each other at every opportunity possible.
Sorry, Deb, I saw you were about to speak, but I just wanted to throw out, we have a lot of volunteers that come to Shemesh, and a lot of them bring their friends, and then their friends keep coming back with them, or I'll get, a text or a call and say, my friend wants to come by herself, but she wants to bring another friend. Is that okay? Is that okay? It's fantastic. It really is lovely.
And there's so much power also in word of mouth. If you've got a great experience somewhere, of course you're going to tell other people, because you want to spread and elevate it. And I know this this was from like 3 comments ago, when you're talking about the audience, thinking the applause is thinking the audience, or thinking the cast, the bow is thinking the audience. Tying in fact back to what David was saying about volunteering your expertise, by gifting people your knowledge, you are helping them. And when they take the advice and make their lives better, it is thanking the people who shared that information. So that whole giving and receiving thing, we all look at it, using food as a baseline for giving and receiving, but really any sort of interaction where you're giving of yourself, and the people acknowledging it by taking that information and making their lives better or something, it is a blessing for both.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
helping
there's
and
also,
supporting is feeding, right? It's and then we're getting fed by what we're getting out of the experience.
I was gonna say,
Yes.
there's there's a fun TED talk I liked about there's an equation for calculating the likelihood of couples getting divorced. And that equation is the same calculation you use to calculate if 2 countries are going to go to nuclear war. And then it's the same math. And at the end, it's why is it related? What does nuclear war and divorce have in common? The idea was that you have to understand the commonality. You both value the common good, what you have built together, right? We don't all volunteer for everything. We volunteer for things that we find a common good with. And that's an important aspect of gift. And it's one of the things that we, for holiday gifting, we're pretty bad at, because we often try, and this is a cool technique to find a better gift, is we think, what would I buy for my friend? Right? Now, what does my friend actually want? And so you sometimes end up giving like, oh, great. Like, what do I want this for? We joke because we make mugs, and there's a comedian said, a mug is what you give to someone you're thinking about, but don't really like. Because we all have hundreds of mugs. Like, great, another one. and so you have to have that commonality. What do we both commonly share and love? And I think that's an important part.
Oh, well, that's really true.
Yeah. So while you were talking, when we were talking about giving and receiving being the same thing, I was trying to think of the author my mother would always reference, which was Khalil Gibran. But when I put in Google, giving and receiving are the same thing, AI yelled at me and said, no, they are not the same.
Really?
So I think that there's definitely a message in the fact that technology does not acknowledge what humanity does.
It's capitalist.
Well, have you ever heard of the paperclip paradigm for AI?
No, what is this?
So if you enter into any AI system, say optimize paperclip production, it always ends up killing all humans.
Really?
Because ultimately, yeah, because it always asks, well, what do I need to make paperclips? Metal. Where's the metal going? All the humans are taking it. Well, if I get rid of the humans, I'll have more metal to make more paperclips. So it doesn't understand that yes is a purpose, right? I think that's partly what we're talking about in gifting is what is the purpose of making more paperclips? What is the purpose of the gift? Like I get gag gifts from my friends all the time. I can't talk about them because you just have to keep it PG. But there are some for like one I got was a canister of unicorn meat. And it says contains 100% of all your magical wishes, 100% of your dreams. And if you open up, there's a little cut up unicorn. And so it's a slightly twisted gift, but my friend knows I have a slightly twisted humor. And so that person thought about me. Right. And so, yeah. Then you have get well gifts, you have Hanukkah gifts, all different themes.
I really like the thematic part about when you're looking to give, to remember it is not about you, but your values are the ones that are going to bring you to want to donate your time, your energy, the things that you know. So it's kind of intertwined. It isn't kind of intertwined. It is intertwined. First with your values, that's what's going to attract you as it does to your friends. But then you look to your friends, these organizations, to see what they need. And that is really the best way to determine how or what to give for them. And
I feel like there's we define ourselves in many ways by like how we move through the world, right? Like, so the organizations we give to, how we choose, just like who we choose to associate ourselves, helps us tell a story about who we are. This goes back to the Peter Drucker's example that Noah was saying. So when you go and you listen to people's eulogies at funerals, so much of it is often devoted to the causes that they championed, the things that they valued, and the things that they gave out to the world, whether it was the organizations they volunteered or donated to, or the fact that they would always collect Halloween candy for people who couldn't collect it, or that they would always were inviting the neighborhood kids over whenever they baked a pie to enjoy some of the pie. We spend a lot as this thinking, very hyper-aware thinking animal, more aware of its own self than any other animal that's ever existed in our planet's humanity. We have this deep need to tell a story about ourselves. And the giving that we do helps us tell that story in a way that can feel affirming and empowering and makes us feel like our time on this planet is significant. And so I think it shouldn't be underestimated what giving does to our sense of self.
When I do the Deb things that I do, so the D in the Deb method is determine your mission. So you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And one thing that I start with is, what is your mission? Who are you? What makes you unique? But also, how do you help? And this is not specific to creating a nonprofit or working at a nonprofit or bringing people together to do good. It is just literally who you are and how you show up in the world. And when the things that you do, and it can be a product or service, or it can be to educate, inform, entertain, whatever your lot in life is, when you think about it in terms of what am I doing to make the world a better place for other people, philanthropic or not, it's going to give you fuel to do better in your life.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies, and we're getting toward the holiday season, so I feel like it's especially appropriate to mention this movie, is It's a Wonderful Life. Because I love this idea that sometimes we can't always see the impact we're making. And I love this ability, this magical dream, right? That we have this Jimmy Stewart character who feels like really, he's such a great guy, but he doesn't really see it, and he's actually thinking of by the end of ending it all, and like, what do I even contribute? And then this angel takes him and shows him what the world looks like without him, and everybody is more miserable. Like nobody is gotten like ahead. Everybody's life is just worse without him in small and big ways, without him in it. And you realize the tremendous impact that he's made on his community. And I think I always love that, because what a dream to be able to know for sure that you were just such a vital keystone to the world around you. It's just in every little way, everybody's life is better because you're in it.
That's a little borderline depressing, but I like the example. I appreciate it. And as long as you brought it up, I'd love to pose that question to Nicky and Noah. What film or TV show do you watch? Do you think it speaks to you and is indicative of this kind of conversation?
So I'm going to twist it a little bit.
Oh, please, twist away, my friend.
I just think that there are specific stories like what David shared from a film or a play. I also think just the act of going to a show, like I was at 2 different shows on Saturday. I was at Waiting for Godot at the Geffen in the afternoon, and I went to the Soraya CSUN that night and saw Ballet BC, which is this incredible modern ballet company. I think that the to be inspired, to create, to offer, to have this connection in any way. Like I can walk out of not all, but I would say a good amount of movies and a good amount of theater and a good amount of museums or galleries and feel inspired and feel like I want to go do something creative. I want to be a better human being. You could look at Waiting for Godot, which is just sort of like this existential, wow, what's going on? But it makes us think about why are we here? Why are we here? What is necessary? What can I do? At least that's what it does for me. Or it makes me want to celebrate, or it makes me laugh. It makes me cry. It makes me feel something. And if it makes me feel nothing, then why am I feeling this nothingness? Right? So I think that, I know, David, I'm just going to share when I saw that Braid performance at Car, I was beside myself. I felt so blown away hearing these stories and getting to bear witness to these stories and getting to hear this beautiful, gorgeous voice of this wonderful man who's singing throughout in between the stories and at the beginning and the end. And I felt so lucky. I felt so fortunate. I felt so great to be a human being in that moment. And I don't know that I think there's times and places where that happens. I know that happens here at my work, that I come here every day and feel like I am making a difference, and these people are making a difference in my life. And if I could just stay here in Malibu in this little plot of land, like life would be good. And if everybody could just come be right here, everybody would be okay. And so I'm taking a twist on your question, but
Well, if I can
that's my
summarize,
thought.
because I do that. So what you're saying is it doesn't matter what kind of art, music, theater, movies, but if you want to get in the zone of being helpful, go experience something that taps into your emotions.
Mhm.
You
And
know,
art could be anything. Art is cooking, art is gardening, art is, it's just the act of creation. I think that's the difference between we can either be creative or we can be destructive. What
was
are we
that
choosing?
was that Chody Car was that the Jews of Color show about?
It was amazing,
All right,
David.
so
It
there's a
was,
story in there about someone who goes to a meeting in Hollywood and somebody tells a racist joke, and then he has to decide, like, debating, does he say anything because he's that race that they're making fun of. So that's my story.
oh my
So,
God, that's awesome.
so it's really talk about that moment when the audience and the creators interact. Like, I'm hearing you describe how you were touched by that show, and I'm having this moment of like, oh my God, like,
That was my
so
show.
amazing to be able to write a story that's part of, and again, not just, there's other people's stories too, so it's a collaborative work or a cooperative experience, but to be part of something that touched Nikki's heart like that, it just makes me feel like so incredible. To So exactly what you were saying about the interaction, about taking the bow, and what it means. God, thank you for sharing that. It always feels so good when I run into somebody who's seen that show, and it's
Well,
made a
that's It's a Wonderful Life for you.
that's
Now
my
you know.
wonderful life moment. Yeah, it's true. It's really true.
Giving could be a compliment, and you may have no idea that you are complimenting someone who is like side by side with you on a panel.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's
Which
I think
is
for
why I think it's so important to be really, open and transparent. I'm doing this thing in November, networking tip a day, and some of it is just say a hi or give a testimonial or a review or just do something nice for someone, because networking is developing relationships and growing together.
yeah.
Noah, you
Yeah, to answer
were
your question,
about to chime in. Yes, please. Please.
So I think so. I grew up Orthodox. Now I'm an atheist, just for the whole spectrum. And so one of the questions we asked, because we're always questioning, because we're Jews, that's what we do. We question things. Is it better to give out of want or out of obligation? And it's an interesting question when you think about it. And I don't think there's really a right answer or a wrong answer, but I think there's different aspects of it, right? Like, so when you give something out of want, you gain a benefit from it. So is it really for you you're doing it, or for them? And when you do something out of obligation, is you're doing it not really for you, but because the greater good, the society, the group you belong to need you to do it. And there's things we don't like to do, but we still do it. And I think for me, so the show or a movie that referenced that, I think, would be Star Trek. I love Star Trek, huge Star Trek nerd. They're flying all over the universe, sometimes doing good, protecting people from people that want to hurt them, or bringing them food, or bringing them medicine. But they're learning and they're exploring. And I think that for me is really like how I view gifting. Is there's that element of, if you know the show well, anyone that wears a red shirt gets killed right away. That's like the number one rule. But they still wear the red shirt, right? They still go out there, they still do it because they feel, hey, I'm part of something. I'm a team. And so I think that balance between those two things is, yeah, I want to do some things. Like, I donate platelets. I've donated about 60, 70 times. And they keep sticking a needle in me. Most people hate needles being stuck in them. Not my favorite activity, but out of obligation to help others, I feel it's important to do it.
When I was in college, I had a philosophy class and we studied Star Trek.
Oh, did you actually? No, it's philosophically and societally.
That was it was a surprise to me. I thought I was signing up for a philosophy class. Apparently I was. But when you're looking at the message, the messages are everywhere. Some shows and movies just do it better than others. But I love I especially love, for that reason, that you gave that as an example. My goodness, did you really expect conversation on giving to be collaboration, It's a Wonderful Life, and Star Trek and theater? Yeah, I guess probably, maybe.
Yeah.
Because anything giving, it's a beautiful word because it can mean anything, but mostly I think it needs to mean something to you, so that what you are giving is from the heart, aligned with values, etc., etc. yay rah, go human beings. I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. What is something that they could do today, tomorrow, like immediately to get, I don't want to say better at giving, but to get better at giving? I mean, Noah, do you want to start?
I was just talking like 5 minutes before the show with this person that we hired to help us do our social media, and I said he's meeting, and because I had this schedule, so I couldn't do it. And I said, "What are we talking?" I said, "Get to know them. Like, don't worry about, oh, but what about our branding? What about our message? Like, ask them what they like. But how does that help me? Because you're building a repertoire with them, and you're going to be able to know more about who they are. They're going to share with you what they need. And then, but he's like, I don't want to do that. So I feel uncomfortable doing that. I'm like, just do it. It's okay to be awkward. Just have fun and learn from the other person. And that's the best way to start gifting, is what do you need? Because if you give someone something they don't want, then it doesn't really help them. And it's the opposite of giving. You're almost hurting them in many ways.
I like the idea. I sort of riffed on the first part of your goal, which is just get to know people, because that is the first step. That worked for you?
Yeah, I'm just like, there's a question of evaluation in the holidays, because we sell a lot of holiday gifts, was that it adds so much to the economy. And most economists say actually it takes away from the economy. Because if I buy $100 vase for you and you don't want it and you put it in your closet, the economy just lost $100 of valuation. And so you have to really know the person you're giving them. Otherwise, you're just wasting what society is producing and their time.
I feel like we should have you on a whole sustainability conversation. So
That is my degree.
Well, I think we need a sustainability conversation in the spring. So coming soon.
Okay.
David,
I just want to tag.
yes.
Can I tag on Noah's?
Please.
Is to be curious, to really ask the questions, to listen, to wonder, to observe, to do that. Just like Noah was sharing about the vase, is I can't remember this the specific tribe, but there was a tribe in some country in Africa that a bunch of Americans went to, and noticed that the women were going down to the river, taking these long treks to the river to get their water, to bring it back to the village. And it was this time-consuming thing. So they came in and they built this whole irrigation system, and they thought it was so great. And a year later they came back and it was completely in despair and disrepair. And they're like, what is going on? Why didn't you use this? And the women are like, this is the only time we get to go spend time together and be alone and not be with our husbands. We relish this time together. And so they didn't ask what was needed. They didn't ask what was wanted. They just assumed because they should have what we have.
So is your goal to ask people what they need, or do you have a different one?
I think a goal would be to be curious, to really seek to find out what's needed and how you can best contribute.
Excellent.
And I'm going to piggyback on this chain that Noah and then Nicky started, because I think my advice is to develop long-term relationships, because that does come from that kind of authentic getting to know people, building those long, asking those questions, being curious. I think you're going to learn more about the organization, and you're going to have a deeper impact in the organization and the field in which you're giving as you do it over time. So that doesn't mean that, there's no place for sort of a one and done kind of donation or offer of help or anything like that. But I think there's something really rewarding about going back to the same place of giving repeatedly, building a relationship with those people, building a connection with those people. And then after a while, you really start to enter into an authentic dialogue with the people that you're giving, through which you're giving, whom you're giving to. And that allows you to ask deeper questions, to know them even better, to come with a better understanding, to be more effective in your giving because you're understanding it well. And also that if you're going to give, some time, some advice, some expertise, people are more likely to listen and receive from people who have shown a dedicated commitment to being there in the long haul, and who they've gotten to know and trust and understand. Because learning is a two-way street. As you learn, you're learning about someone, they're learning about you.
I really love that each of your goals builds on the one before. Noah, get to know new people. Nicky, ask questions, see how you could best contribute. And David's, use that as the start for developing a long-term relationship. And that's just it. It's just so cool. I love you've been talking about theater on and off. Most of these conversations are like yes ands, building upon one another for a stronger effort and advice to help people do better, be better, enjoy. Amazing. Friends, please tell people a little bit more about your organizations and where they can learn more. Noah?
So you can check out our stuff at the TeaBook.com, and we make fun, giftable tea stuff, which is why gifts are perfect. Like this is an example of one of our gifts. It's our Might Tea Women of Herstory. It's a little 10-pack of tea. And it has people that have changed positive changes in the world. Because my mom was all about being positive and making a difference. We have like a Omnis Royal Chai where we donate to Jewish charities to help make the world a little better. And we do fun things like that. And we also take suggestions. And I do mean this, anytime, send us your puns. As many tea puns as you want. We're here. It's a safe space.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I will also, if you go to the debmethod.com/blog, you will get the recaps, and I will link to each of your Taste Buds conversations, because we did have a lot of fun diving in to pun land. I have a feeling that, in the great beyond, your mom and my mom are hanging out, except my mom's going to have, yeah, because she also was all about the puns as well. Except I'm guessing.
Did she play mahjong? That's the question.
When she was younger, probably, because if you're Jewish, you kind of had to.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they are riffing on the puns. Your mom's drinking tea, and my mom's enjoying her special chocolate coffee. They're having a grand old time. So, thank you for that. It's a little off topic, but not really. But there really is comfort in knowing that I know that I am, I get to spread the messages of positivity and light, because that's what I learned, which is what you are doing as well. So I feel like, even though we've never met in person, we've got this thing.
Not yet.
No, not yet. But game night.
Yeah.
Right. David, where can people learn more about you? And David, who we were talking before, your day job and all of your extracurriculars are all like about giving back. So he's like, what do you do if it's your entire social life? I said, then you are you. So where can people learn more about all of things that you are involved in, David?
Go to the-braid.org. That's our website. You can learn how to get involved, how to come see our shows, how to come support our mission. We do all sorts of things. Like I said, we're doing a Jews of Color cooking video series. But to give a sense of the impact, I told you I produced this theater show about Asian American Jews. And I remember there was somebody in the audience who was an Asian American Jew who, when she saw the show at the ending musical number, she started crying. And she's a very stoic person. She goes, I've never really seen her cry before. And she went up to me afterwards and she said, I now feel so seen, seeing myself on stage. But then the amazing thing is there was somebody in the audience during the Q&A who was not Jewish or Asian. We just kind of read an article about it in the San Francisco Chronicle, who came in and said, oh, wait, no, this show really spoke to me. This show was touching my heart. And you realized the power of art, and this goes back to what Nicky's saying, it's not just about any one particular person and group, even though there's a power in spotlighting and a particular group and giving them a moment to be seen. That actually, when you do that, just like Nikki went to see a Jews of Color show and it ended up touching her heart deeply, there's a moment when it enriches all of us. So hopefully you'll feel inspired to support the Braid in this mission of telling stories that connect and inspire us all.
I just love because you are in, and I get to write about all the shows that you do, so I get a little extra insight to it. Any sort of art that speaks to people who are not necessarily the people on stage, you're definitely doing something right. And stories and food connect us all. So naturally, that's what happens, right? Amazing. Nikki, where can people learn more about you and the wonderful spices and honey at Shemesh Farms?
Yeah, we're at shemeshfarms.com. And our website will tell you all about Shemesh. And you can also shop all our products, which is pretty great because you get to see how everything works from harvest to blend when you're here. So you're always welcome to come visit, join our Sunshine Gang, which is our volunteer piece of what we do here. And if you go on our shop, you'll see our products, which we have several herb blends. We have salt blends. We have a wonderful salt of the earth trio that we've got for the holidays. And sorry, Noah, we do have Tikkun Olam here.
Well played.
But we talk about how you have to take care of yourself before you go out and take care of the world. But we have a lovely gift set for the holidays. It's in a beautiful cardboard cylinder box, and that's got our 2-ounce honey, 8 tea bags, compostable tea bags, and our Tikkun Olam in a really pretty little tin. And we have a wonderful gift set called Everything But the Challah, which is our 4-ounce honey and a packet of our za'atar blend in a little muslin sack that looks like a flour sack. And it's got a foolproof challah recipe that comes with it, which is a braided bread, just
Right.
punning the braid there. And so you can find all kinds of ways that you can, you know, enjoy beautiful spices and herbs, honey, lavender sachets. And we have beautiful gift cards, note cards that were made by our farm fellows. They're self-portraits that we turned into note cards with envelopes, which is always a nice way to gift.
Aw.
But the best way to gift is to come visit and see what this is all about and really feel the magic of what Shemesh Farms is. So you guys come out to Malibu one day, and Wednesday night we'll go to Noah's and we'll play games. And then we'll go see a show together at the Braid.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
A field trip, definitely. And for those of you who are listening to this just as the audio, when Nikki made the braid pun, Noah was just losing it on camera laughing. So you have tied it all in together. Again, you can find me. I'm at the Deb Method everywhere, and you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog to read the recaps and get the links and the goals from each episode. And I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, to GoalChat on your favorite podcast platform. And if you need a little bit of a push in the right direction with your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide at your favorite place to buy books. And you can pre-order 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, how to stay focused, grow your network, and get more done in less time. It's 52 Secrets, but I interviewed 60 experts in the area of business and tech and food and entertainment and other areas. And it's a menu of ideas to help you plan and achieve your goals and live that life you desire. Yeah, that's pretty much the commercial. Thank you, friends, so much for joining me today. What final thought do you want to leave everybody with? David, final thought?
I think giving just about everything is about relationships. So go out and make connections, do it with your friends, just build the connections to your value, to the people and the values that mean a lot to you.
Awesome. And Nikki, final thought?
Just love big. Go out there and make the world a better place, whatever it is that you do in a small ways or big ways.
Love big. Love it. And Noah, final thought to you.
Thanksgiving's coming up. And I think it airs on Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is both thanks and giving, right? And gifting. And so be thankful that you have things to gift.
Ooh. And if all else fails, you can give of yourself, because that is the greatest gift in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody, you cannot see them nodding, but we are nodding. Thank you all again so much for this, I think, important and enlightening conversation. You know, it's the holidays, so some people love it and some people find it a difficult time. But if you find ways to give of yourself with that little, shall we say, thankful undertone, when you give for others, giving, I have a point. When you give to others, we discussed before, giving and receiving is the same thing. So if you want that burst of energy of feel good, go out and find a way to give, and that will boomerang back to you as well. Thank you again, Noah, David, and Nikki, for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Go, give, eat, be thankful, give some more, and just love big, develop relationships, give big, and enjoy your time on the earth. Go on, go for it. We know you can do it.